in the Odyssey, Telemachus is approached by the goddess Athena, disguised as mentor, an old friend of his father. You will remember that Odysseus has left to fight the Trojan War when Telemachus was an infant. So the boy had been raised by his mother, and he had virtually no recollections at all of his father. Thus, the character mentor filled a void in the upbringing of Telemachus. He guided him in such a way that a father or a father figure might have. In this case, mentor suggested that Telemachus ought to not only stand up to the suitors who were hanging around Odysseus' palace trying to win the heart of his mother Penelope, but he also ought to go on a brief voyage, a journey of his own, to seek out information about his father. Many a time have you heard folks stand behind this very pulpit and share with you their stories of their own mentors. A week ago, in fact, Reverend Estes introduced us to Gertrude Rutten, an English and Latin teacher from his high school in Lawrence, Kansas, who had had a profoundly positive impact on his life as a boy, as well as on the lives of many of his classmates. Miss Rutten was a mentor. Some of you will recall a talk Mr. Stone gave in here about his heroes and their impact on his life. They were mentors. Mr. Cheney has spoken about his father, Dick Cheney, and the many ways he learned from him. Clearly, Mr. Cheney was speaking about the way his father mentored him. And Mr. Chandler oftentimes has spoken of lessons and guidance his father, Rusty Chandler, has shared with him. Interestingly, and not necessarily coincidentally, each of the individuals I have listed so far this morning, from the names of the people we see around here every day to Telemachus himself, has been willing to be mentored. They have accepted the advice, the direction, and the wisdom of their mentors. Like those individuals, and like many of you, I too have had some remarkable mentors in my life. Bob Brooks, Tom Hart, Eddie Jeremiah, Charlie Whittemore, Noble Richards, George Bartlett, John Farr, Jim Cross, Bob Ashley, my mother and father. All of these people have had profound impacts on my life. As teachers, coaches, as friends, as role models, as employers, as colleagues. I know most of you can generate a long and impressive list of those who have mentored you in the years past or who are mentoring you right now. But this morning I'm going to turn the tables on you a bit. Instead of speaking about older individuals who have profoundly influenced me, I'm going to share with you a few observations about some younger people who have impacted me. You see, I've been working with adolescents my entire adult life. I started when I was fresh out of college, a 22-year-old, not unlike Jack Kinder. Through the past 37 years, I have been overwhelmed by what I have learned from students I have taught, athletes I have coached, and young people I have been associated with in so many different situations. I am convinced these connections are big reasons why I have enjoyed what I do for so long. Not surprisingly, and because they themselves were not only raised on this campus, and another one not so very different, before they each went off to independent schools, my own children have been lumped into this collection of my own mentors. I am picking the four of them, my own kids, for a myriad of reasons. And not one of them is for vanity or foolish pride, but rather because they seem to have taught me a number of life lessons. Instructions I have taken from them and many others as well. Some of whom are sitting in this congregation right now. Many of whom sat in these very pews or pews just like them in years past. And so I'm going to ask you to use your imagination for the next few minutes. Listen to what I'm saying and try to figure out where you might fall as I share these thoughts with you. And while I may be talking about my own children, I'm quite certain most of you will be able to imagine yourselves somewhere in what I am about to share with you, the lessons I have learned from my children. Know that, like you, these guys have many, many aspects to them. They are special to me and their mother in lots of different ways. But this morning, I have forced myself to focus solely on a few. Many of you are firstborn. I know that because I've read the file of every boy sitting in this chapel. Firstborn children are special. Their parents have never gone through this kid thing before, so all sorts of attention is showered upon these children. Our family was no different. Molly still exhibits many characteristics of the firstborn child, but what I have learned best from her is courage. She may be the bravest person I've ever met. Whether it was the first day of kindergarten, or the gap year in South Africa after graduating from high school, or enrolling in a gigantic Big Ten university, or tackling new and really challenging teaching opportunities, or surfing, or backcountry snowboarding, or rock climbing, or traveling all over the world, she has taught me the lesson of courage by being brave. Just like so many of you are fearless in your lives. Like you, she is brave every day. Not only is the next one the second child, but she is also the middle child. And in many ways, Rebecca has demonstrated so many commonly accepted characteristics of these children. But what overshadows virtually everything about her place in the order of things is the way that she has tackled the challenges and hurdles she's faced. Like some of you, school and learning did not come easily for Becky. She learned early on that being highly organized and doggedly determined were going to be the keys to any successes she would realize. She also realized that instant gratification would not be something she would enjoy. I too realized it when it finally culminated for her at her graduation from college. For Becky, the cum laude announcement was the payoff after literally years in the academic trenches. Becky taught me these traits by living her life this way every day. The next lessons I learned from Kathy, the first of the twins to arrive on the scene. Blessed with gifts I can only imagine, she succeeded remarkably at virtually everything she tackled. Schoolwork, athletics, social situations, leadership positions, everything. And through it all, she has taught me the value of genuine humility and modesty. School and college leadership positions, academic achievements, team captaincies, all league, all state, all American recognitions, you name it, she's won it. If you were to spend time with her, you would never know it, because you would be so much more important to her than she is to herself. I know you can look around in here and find schoolmates who are just the same. By the way they live, and she has lived their lives, they influence and mentor us. And finally, there's Tom, the last of the four, 7 minutes younger than his twin sister, the baby of the family and the only boy. Some of you know Tom, and those of you who do, you might remember how he loves life, wherever he is, and how he takes advantage of every opportunity presented to him. Like many of you in front of me this morning, Tom not only got a lot from his 4 years at Salisbury School, but he also gave a lot. And although Ronan McCrisky will undoubtedly tell you the success Tom had here when he was a student was due to the mentoring he provided as Tom's faculty advisor, I would counter by saying Tom showed us all the joy of his life and his care and delight for others long before he joined the third form. Good, effective, memorable mentors do what they do without much thought. They influence us because of who they are. Sometimes we learn from those who have gone before us, elders, if you will. But I suggest that sometimes we learn just as much from the examples set among us by those who are younger, who demonstrate the qualities and characteristics we cherish by the way they live their lives. I'll suggest also that what we can learn from these examples, these life lessons, depends as much upon our willingness to accept them as it does the mental eagerness to share them. So thank you. Thank you all for who you are and what you do, and thank you for your time this morning.